Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, that this translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces. We have a thought piece that we just dropped this past Monday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you're looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time you post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And our topic of conversation today is mental health. And the conversation around mental health, I actually want to have a conversation around learning, around being self-driven in the things that we learn and being self-motivated in the ways that we drive our own learning. And sometimes what happens is we go through so much schooling where it's really just unilateral, where it's just, an instructor or a facilitator telling us what to do, telling us what to learn, telling us what to think. It becomes very hard to cultivate the muscle of being proactive and being the person who drives your own learning as an adult. And so what we never want to experience is the sense of learned helplessness by way of the skills or the abilities or the understanding or the knowledge that we don't have, when we always have it within our capacity to learn it. And in an era of information, of knowledge, there are so many different ways that you can learn things, and you don't necessarily have to pay out of pocket to have a basic understanding of any subject. And I find that this is a topic that we need to cover in mental health, because learned helplessness is a serious issue, and it's an issue that leaves people feeling very crippled and very helpless when they see that they have a gap in the skills that they need to do the things that they want. And so when it comes to my attitude towards learning, if it ever was the case in my past where I wanted to connect with someone, I would learn about their interests, I would learn about their hobbies, and I would see what it was about their interests or their hobbies that interested me, so that we could have a real conversation about a topic that I wanted to learn about, but that was in alignment with what they probably would want to talk about. And when it comes to new projects or new activities that I want to get myself involved in, if there are gaps in the skills that I bring to the table, and for me to be a value add, it means I need to build my own understanding or a foundation, and I need to bridge that gap on my own, I am so ready to do that. And I cultivated this proactivity, this proaction mindset by way of learning, so that I can have the opportunity to do the things that I want to do, because I don't necessarily follow the bias that we play to our strengths. I think sometimes what you want to do is give yourself an opportunity to get your foot in the door, and if that means that you proactively learn on your own time, then you do that so that you have an opportunity in front of you that maybe your current skill set set wouldn't allow. And so I think a lot of people feel like they're limited by their skill set, because since we were children, we've always been told to play to what it is that we know, or to focus on building a decision matrix around the areas that we're good in. And I think that it's just so important that we recognize that the blind spots aren't dead ends, right? They're not dead ends in the areas that we can pursue and in the areas that we would like to just delve a little bit further by way of knowledge and even investment in time, or even having active participation in. And I think that sometimes when it is the case that we're all having conversations and we're hearing about what is needed, I think that the best way of moving forward with that is volunteering yourself to bridge that gap on your own and having the confidence that you can. And so because I have a background in training and development, and even what drove that background in training and development is when I was doing my undergraduate studies, I was very much focused on memory systems. Like, I was so mesmerized in my education and learning about just how memory worked. And in learning about how memory worked, how I first sort of pitched myself as a trainer, I promised I was able to commit to a 90% level of learning retention. I was able to do that by incorporating cognition tricks that I had learned in university. So what I would do is I would build these different mechanisms in any of my training programs so that I was enabling people to learn. And what I found out very quickly was that a lot of people had a lot of insecurity around their capacity to learn because of their experiences in academic settings. And this was in professional settings where I was building different learning programs that the learning was almost subversive. It was a learning that was taking place as an undercurrent based on some of the activities I would have them do. So they weren't necessarily cognizant of what mechanisms I was playing against by ways of different cognitions I was pulling at. And for me, it was like a lab experiment. And I was able to test out these different theories that played on different sensory and perceptory research to see if whether or not that actually engaged like the learning systems in our brains. And it was very quickly rewarded with the truth that it had. But what was a surprise was that a lot of people were surprised with how quickly they were retaining the new information with just the little things that I was doing in the program. A lot of people were very, very happy, but also very, very surprised with their own progress. And that's when I recognized that a lot of the times when it is the case that we feel crippled or helpless in the things that we are interested in doing, but recognizing that there's a gap between what it is that we want to do and where it is that we're at, is because we don't necessarily have the confidence that we can learn and that we can bridge the gap. And so I'm here to say that everyone that I have trained, and I was in training and development for roughly 7 years. It didn't matter how many years those people were in industry. It doesn't matter how mature they were in their careers or how little learning they had prior to university or prior to high school, even in some cases. Everyone was able to learn new concepts very quickly once they kind of got over that insecurity that they couldn't, right? And so I have a super huge affinity for self-motivation. I love to see that there's a thirst, that there's a hunger to learn, and that people aren't dissuaded or discouraged by the gap, or they're not expecting someone else to feed them the information that they need in order to be able to be successful. I mean, I think a lot of us fail to recognize our own ability to build a foundation that enables us to drive our careers or our learning or our curiosities or our passions and our interests in any direction that we want. But that's not something that we can offload on someone else. That's something that we need to take responsibility for on our own. And so I want to have this conversation because I think that it plays into our sense of self, our sense of self-confidence, our sense of self-worth, our sense of self-efficacy, the attitudes that we have towards our abilities to learn. And I think a lot of us have really broken concepts of our own capacity to learn just because of the experience that we had in our education, whether that's primary or secondary or post-secondary. And I want to just share that, having been in the learning space so much prior, even after graduating and even like pursuing graduate studies, everyone has the ability to learn. But we all need to learn our learning styles. And I think one of the first videos that I put out was learning about our learning styles. And so I'm gonna put a bit of a link here so that you can check that video out and get a sense as to building a matrix for your own learning style, and then enabling yourself to learn the things that you're passionate about, that you're curious about, that will put you on the path towards a career or a vocation that is more aligned to your passions, without this insecurity that you don't have what it takes. All of us have what it takes. And if all all of us have a better understanding of ourselves by way of who our learning selves are, I think we're all better positioned to be successful in breaking new ground and in stepping into the unknown and giving ourselves the opportunity to access new opportunities and new projects and new developments that are taking place, whether in our personal, professional lives all together. And so I think that that's really important as by way of our mental health to be self-starting, to have that inner motivation, to learn the things that we need, to do the things that we want. And so that's something that you want to take on your own. That's not something that you want to expect other people to do for you, nor that you need them to. You can do that on your own as well. So I just want to come on here and talk about how learning and our mental health are dually related, because a lot of us feel stuck because we don't recognize just how much we have within our own power to shift the scenes around us. If we feel stuck because there's areas that we would like to step into, but we don't necessarily have the skill sets to step into it, bridge that gap. If you know what areas you need to develop in or what foundations are required, then I would say build that foundation, bridge that gap, do some learning on your own, watch some YouTube videos, have some conversations, read some books, just do what it is that you can do so that your curiosity is more than just curiosity. You can build from that curiosity a foundation that gets your foot in the door, that enables you to do things that you haven't done yet or before. And so I want to have this conversation. It's sort of a spin-off the conversation that we had around career and making sure that we line our career path to our passions so that work doesn't feel like work. And part of also how we make sure that work doesn't feel like work is that we're always pursuing what feeds our curiosity. And I think there's different conversations, there's so many different topics and themes that are happening all around us, and a lot of the times we opt ourselves out of those conversations, or we are selected out of those conversations because we don't have necessarily the skill base or the skill set, but we can always build upon that. And anytime I've been interested in any project, endeavor, or community, I made sure that I gave myself the baseline understanding to have enough of a conversation to get my foot in the door and to give myself the opportunity to get exposure to the things that interest me and the things that I'm passionate about, even when I didn't have the skills yet, because I was ready to be self-starting and to drive that skill development on my own. And I think a lot of us fail to realize that, when it comes to learning and development, that's something that you can own outside of your career, outside of your education that is formal. That's something that you would want to own and drive by yourself. And because I'm very resolutions oriented, a lot of my resolutions are about acquiring new skills, acquiring new knowledge, just because these are areas that I heard about during the year or at some point in time, and I want to have more understanding. I want to have a deeper understanding of it. And I think if many more of us feed our curiosity and we don't align ourselves to that adage that curiosity kills the cat, I think that's what probably dissuades a lot of people and discourages a lot of people from being self-starting on their own. And so for me, whenever I heard that adage, curiosity killed the cat, growing up, I used to always say, well, satisfaction brought it back, because cats have 9 lives. And so take that as the attitude that you leverage to drive the learning mindset that you would like to cultivate, to give you the opportunity to move and to be nimble and to be flexible and to be adaptable and to learn the types of information that is always within your wheelhouse to learn, so that you can have the types of conversations and do the kind of projects that interest you, that drive your passions, and that aren't just within the set of your skill set as it is right now. Your skills are always very fluid, right? And it's just, we don't know that, but you don't have to be static. You can be dynamic in the skill sets that you offer, and you can develop those skill sets in a way that's going to enable you to do the things that you aren't doing right now. So that's a conversation that I want to have for today, some food for thought for you. No updates by way of the personal situation, by way of stalking. I don't have any updates for you yet. I will definitely come on here and give you updates when I have something concrete to share. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to watch more videos on my stalking experience, I have them linked in the comments down below. And I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.